Amid the jubilation and relief felt by many Syrians as their country enters a new era, there's also lingering trauma for those impacted by the brutality of the Assad regime. Salma Abdulaziz has the story of a prominent activist who risked everything to stand up to the country's authoritarian ruler.
This is activist Mazen Al-Hamada recounting all the ways in which he was tortured inside a regime prison. They broke my ribs, he says. He would jump up and come down on me. I could feel my ribs snapping. He is then asked in this documentary how he feels about his tormentors. I will not rest until I take them to court and get justice, he says. This image, tears flowing from his haunted eyes, made Al-Hamada the face of Syria's torture victims, and inspired drawings by U.S.-based artist and friend Mark Nelson.
That just bore into my soul. His face, his expression.
When an uprising against the Assad dynasty erupted in 2011, Al-Hamada was among the first to join demonstrations. It made him a target of the regime. In 2012, he was detained by security forces after smuggling baby formula into a besieged suburb of Damascus. For nearly 2 years, he endured medieval torture techniques, rape, beatings, and psychological abuse. After his release, he fled to Europe and vowed to tell the world his story. He spoke to journalists, met White House officials, appealed to U.S. lawmakers, but nothing changed. Mazen felt defeated and homesick, his friend and a fellow prison survivor told us.
When he got out and lived in this world, he's seen that the world doesn't care. And that's the only hope he had to live for, that the world would care enough to go and save the cellmates that he left behind.
He flew back to Damascus in February of 2020 and was almost immediately forcibly disappeared. Again, Nelson began to draw.
This is the only way I can think of as an art person to keep his memory is to every week, every other day, every month, draw him.
His fate unknown until rebels took control of Damascus and burst open Syria's prisons. Images of Al-Hamada's body surfaced online, too gruesome for us to show. He was killed inside the notorious Sednaya prison and his body dumped at a nearby hospital, his family says. Just 1 week before his dream of a free Syria was realized. But his testimony against tyranny is everlasting.
His story will always be used as an evidence and a testimony against this regime that need to be prosecuted.
One of the first to stand up to Assad was one of the last of his victims. Now Syria's new rulers say justice for him and countless others is their mission. Salma Abdulaziz, CNN, London.
Joining us right now from London is Sanam Vakil, who is the director of the Middle East and North Africa program at Chatham House. Great to see you. So just as we saw in that piece, the search for prisoners, missing family members, underground prisons, and also there are vast amounts of chemical weapons, and the search for that is also very vigorous. How are these differing searches, in your view, going to be conducted?
Well, thanks for having me. This is a real process that is very much underway. The leading group, HTS, under the leadership of Mohammed Jolani, is trying to create process in a moment where there appears to be a vacuum of power and a lot of joy at what could be a real opportunity for Syrians. The search for justice, he's trying to bring in accountability going forward. There will certainly be a court process, and he's also trying to prevent individual justice from being sought. It's of course going to be quite difficult, as you said, with Bashar al-Assad and his family being in Russia, to see how that justice process is going to go forward. And this is where the United Nations and their support for the political transition will be very important.
Yeah, I mean, bringing in accountability, that's going to be a tremendous undertaking. You know, and as for those chemical weapons, there are more than 360 tons of mustard gas that Syria admitted to making, but has never been fully accounted for. And the Washington Post is reminding us that there are 5 tons of missing precursors for the nerve agent sarin. So you mentioned the UN might be able to assist. Do you see that there might be other international bodies, perhaps like something tantamount to the IAEA, if not the IAEA, you know, getting involved? And how will that be facilitated?
Well, I think the leadership right now is trying to work quite closely with external powers, including Turkey, that has a huge amount of contact and interest with HTS. But also this weekend, there is a conference being held in Jordan that will be convening regional partners to support the transitional government and thereby bring process. There is a role for the IAEA, but I'm sure also there's a role for regional governments to support the search for chemical agents and nerve gases. The Israeli government has also been taking its own initiatives to target over the past few days weapons facilities and depots under the sort of auspices of trying to prevent these weapons from getting into unknown hands. That is, of course, a violation of Syria's sovereignty, but in this vacuum of power and no real centralized government, this is a challenging moment.
Yeah. What kind of confidence, you know, should there be in this new leadership in Mohammed al-Jolani and the rebel group HTS, as you referred to, which is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham? Do Syrians at large feel a level of confidence, relief in the days ahead? I mean, we're seeing the celebrations now, but there's always the tomorrow and the next day after that. How are they feeling? How should people be feeling?
Well, I think in this moment, there is clear elation for the majority of Syrians that have lived under a hugely repressive state and really been suffering at the brutality of Bashar al-Assad's dictatorship. And you've, of course, featured that very powerful story of so many individuals experiencing personal tragedy and loss of their loved ones. So confidence and elation, sort of get mixed together amidst the uncertainty. I think people are trying to give the leaders a bit of time and space. There is an interim transitional government that is coming together, and there is a 3-month transitional process that has been declared. It's very important that the leaders that emerge, Mohammed al-Bashir has been appointed as the caretaker prime minister, work with the United Nations. There is a process there, a roadmap for a political transition that can create a pluralistic political system that can bring in as many groups as possible. So this is about keeping to that process, but also, accountability coming from within Syria, but also with support and pressure from external powers as well.
All right. Thank you so much. Sanam Vakil, Director of the Middle East and North Africa Program at Chatham House. Appreciate it.